This is the table saw.
Remember, when you're doing any project in our workshop, you need to put your PPE on. Get it on and be safe.
The table saw needs the big extraction, green for go. The table saw has two fences to cut against, the cross-cut fence and the rip-cut fence. Before using either of these fences to cut, we have to ensure the blade is at the correct height. While the blade is off, place your piece of wood next to it and ensure that the teeth are sitting proud of the surface of the wood. To raise and lower the blade, use the dial at the side of the saw. The directional arrows tell you which way. The next step is to set the guard height. Use the piece of wood and place it under the guard, lowering it until it touches it. This provides a downward pressure. The first kind of cut we'll focus on is the rip cut. So step 1 is to set your dimension. This is done through sliding the fence backwards and forwards and reading out the number on either the steel rule or the electronic dial. To lock the fence into position, there is a lever. When the lever is up, the fence is loose. When the lever is down, it is locked in at the dimension required. This fence can be set to fractions of a millimeter. To do this, you have to use the minor adjustments knob. Behind the blade there's a metal fin. This is called the writhing knife and separates the material post-cut. We don't want the fence too far forward past the writhing knife so that it stops it doing its job, but we also don't want it too far back so that the material is unsupported during the cut. The handle we use to loosen and tighten this fence is the same handle we would use to lay the fence face down. This is the orientation we would use if we were doing work closer to the blade. The final thing to take into account is the scoring blade. If this is sitting proud of the outfeed table, get a duty technician to help you lower it. You can locate the on and off switches at the end of the sliding bed and below the sliding bed at the end of the table saw. Once all these settings are in place, it's time to make the cut. Let's look at this in slow motion. When pushing the wood through the blade, my fingers are at the edges. This gives me good purchase, but also means that my hands won't slide accidentally into the blade. My left hand doesn't go beyond the blade guard, and my right hand is pushing the piece of wood through the blade. We want to make sure that our fingers are at a safe distance away from the blade, whilst also maintaining pressure between the guard and the fence. This can also be done using a push stick. To use the crosscut fence, we first have to set our stop to the correct dimensions. To do this, we loosen the black knob and slide it to where we need it along the crosscut fence. We tighten in place and make sure the stop is flipped over to the correct side of the bar. The stop creates a potential pivot point when pushing the wood through the blade. Use the heel of your hand or your fingers to put enough pressure so that this doesn't happen when pushing the wood through the blade. Before we make the cut, the crosscut fence has to be positioned before the blade. Set the wood tight against it, turn the blade on, and cut. Once you've cut all the way through the material, turn the blade off, wait till it stops, and then clear the material. There are several ways to make a miter cut across the face of your material and along the edge. Please ask the duty technician how to do this. If you have any further questions about the table saw, please don't hesitate to ask the duty technician.